Well, guys, today we're going to take a look at this little lock. This is I don't know the date of manufacture. I'll look it up on the codes. And by the way, if you want to download the codes to decode Master and American, it's on the download section of locklab.com. But anyway, I'll look it up and I'll put the date of manufacture down there on the bottom. This thing is obviously well worn. I got this from Frank all the way up in Fort Edward, New York. Said he'd had it for about a year, never been able to pick it, even though he's got the key. Here we go, and says not rekeyable. We'll talk a little bit about that. This is from American Locks, I guess, less costly line of locks. Aluminum body. It's got a 1/4-inch shackle, hardened steel, so not super level of security, but pretty good cores in these guys. There's what your key looks like on this one. As I said, Frank was never able to pick this, and he said, prove me wrong, and let's see if we can't do that. There are ball bearings on both sides of this, so like I said, good little locks. The thing about these Series-30 is one of the cost-saving measures, they made them non-rekeyable by putting a rivet down inside of there. So the thing is, if you drill that out, if you happen to have an extra screw and then that bottom nut, security nut for an American lock, you can drill out that rivet. That bottom thing pops off and you can gut it normally. Recore it, you can put a anti-bypass plate on the back of it so nobody can bypass it. These probably did not come with that. Hopefully we'll find out. Let's see if we can get this little guy picked. They are countersunk in there just a little bit, and a couple of things going for this. First of all, it's countersunk. Secondly, and I probably should have showed you this with a key, there's a really, notice how it just turns with no resistance for just a tiny bit. And that's a good thing for us pickers. Because right after it breaks the shear line right there, then it gets into this super heavy spring to turn to about 90 degrees. But the trick is there's just a tiny bit of no spring tension there. So it's possible to pick without fighting that spring tension. But if you don't know that, you try to tension against it, could give you some problems. The other thing, take a look. You can see right away that first pin is a serrated pin. So these contain almost all security pins. Again, I don't know the date of manufacture to kind of predetermine what the pin load is, but we've probably got serrated, maybe serrated spools and regular spools. It's just impossible to tell. Let's go ahead and take a tensioner. I'm going to tension this from the top, and I'm looking because I noticed on the top here, you notice all this oil that Frank put in there, and when I pulled the key out, I noticed some oil on that too. So sometimes on these, on most locks, you put a little lube. It makes picking a little easier on standard pins. But when you got security pins, oil and lubricant sometimes make picking just a little bit, it makes it a lot harder sometimes. So Frank, that may be one of the things we're running against here. All right, that seems to work okay. I'm not getting bound up on anything. And because I know what the keyway is like, I'm going to take a risk and use my rat yoke pick. All right. We know there are serrated pins. Let's zoom in a little so we can get some feedback on this thing. There we go. That's about as good as it gets. All right, so the first pin, I'm going to apply heavy tension and then try to find a binder. And there it is, pin 2. And at that point, I release my tension and apply very, very light tension. And from this point forward, you're just barely holding that tension wrench in there. So I gave a single click to pin 2. Now I'm looking for the next binder, and you got to be very gentle. That's pin 4. Single click on him. Don't get excited and apply any tension, because then these serrated pins will bind up on you. Also, don't forget to check that pin right behind your tensioner. Just be sure you're not trying to pick your tensioner. I've done that more than once. See, come on now, talk to me. Oh, there was pin 1. You notice how we got a little turn on the core there? It kind of, as soon as I clicked pin 1, it clicked over a little bit. That tells me this thing does have a spool. Now let's just find out where. So now I know I'm on a spool, so let's apply moderate tension, because we're going to have to put heavy tension on those pins, or heavy pressure on the pins to find that spool. And if we don't use moderate tension on the tensioner, then what we'll do is we'll overset one of the serrated pins, and that'd be a bad thing. So moderate tension on the core, And now we're going to try to put upward tension to see if we get any counter rotation. Not feeling any. There it is right there. Pin 5 is a spool. Now, probably something else is going to drop. Don't worry about it. You got to pick the spool. Come on now. Deep, deep. Got him. Okay, that was pin 4 who had fallen back down. Okay, go back to light tension because now we're probably dealing with the serrated. Okay, and there we go. And there we go. All right. I think we got one spool and the rest are probably serrated. Tell you what, just for the heck of it, since I do have an extra one of these, let me take this over to the vise and let's drill that out and then take a look and see what secrets this core was keeping from Frank. All right, I'm using a new 1/4-inch drill. The only thing that you need to be aware of when you're drilling in this is don't go too deep. Otherwise, if you drill all the way through the lock, then there'll be nothing on this side to retain the head of the screw. So just be careful with your depth. Center it in the rivet and then begin drilling. And then just let it go down a little bit and check several times. And there we go. All right, once you drill the little head of the rivet off, that rivet just falls right out. You can see just remnants of it right there on the end. And from this point, it guts just like any other American lock. The plate pulls out. And in fact, this little hardened steel plate, let me dump that core out. This little hardened steel plate is actually used on all American. It's the standard one. It's got the little cutouts in it for the security nut. So when that's in there and it's flush and it fits in, it won't rotate. So nobody can cut a groove and then unscrew this thing. So I don't know why they chose to rivet it. Obviously a cost-saving measure. But anyway, that's what we got. All right, let me gut this thing. This is a Sparrow's tool. Got not too long ago, and it's got a little cutout. There are 3 different cutouts, and I'm just going to see. This is the first time I've had a chance to use a little one on an American lock. So you line it up like this, and you shove it. If it'll line up. And there, it starts to come off. And maybe we can snag it. There we go. It does work. All right, so there we go. And we're going to need a follower. Make sure, so our pins are going to be located on this side. And we'll use that end. See if we can't make this work. Okay, there we go. This is a 6-pin core with only 5 pins in it. Again, cost-saving measure. I'm sure they saved like a fraction of a cent doing that. Okay, we got that serrated. We knew he was serrated. Now let's find out about the rest of them. Okay, there's 2 and 3, so both of those are serrated. 4, serrated. 5 also serrated. Key pins. And there's never anything in the core. I've never seen any modification to an American core. Other than, of course, in challenge locks. And let's see what we got upstairs. And this is where the exciting part happens. Because this is where the real challenge is. Okay, we got a very weak spring on pin number 1. And he is a serrated. Okay, number 2. Again, a very weak spring. It just barely pushes him above the shear line. I'm anxious to see how old this thing is because those pins appear the springs appear quite compressed. Yeah, he's just barely sticking up there. I can't even get him with the tweezers. Where'd he go? Did he fall out some? Oh, there he is, right on top. He's hiding from me. Another serrated. Gosh, come out. A lot of oil in here, guys, holding everything in. Another serrated. And this last one better be a spool because he gave us counter rotation. And he is. He's a serrated spool. So there we go. We got 4 serrateds and 1 serrated spool, and then all serrated key pins. So there you go, Frank. I don't think the oil, because this is all serrated, I don't think the oil would really help you at all. In fact, I think it probably hurt your ability to pick this. Anyway, guys, there you go. An American Series 30. Appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay legal. Frank, thank you, sir, for the lock.